Hello, everyone. Welcome to Voices of Change. I'm your host, Joseph, and today we're tackling an issue that affects millions: food insecurity. You might think this is a problem in far off places, but it's happening here in Mindanao. Despite efforts like urban gardening and vegetable production training, food insecurity remains a persistent challenge. To help us unpack this issue, I'm joined by three incredible guests, students from Ateneo de Davao Senior High School, who will share their insights and experiences. They'll also talk about our advocacy and why the youth needs to engage in agricultural issues. First, we have Mesha.
Hello, everyone. Happy to be here.
Next, we have Camille.
Hello, Joseph. Hello, everyone. I'm excited about this discussion.
And finally, Cindy.
Hey Joseph, hello to all the youth out there. I'm so very glad and excited to be part of this.
I am also joined by my co host, CJ.
Hello, everyone.
Great to have you all today. We'll explore Mindanao's current food security efforts, the remaining challenges, and what we can do to create real, lasting change. Before we dive in, let's start with something fun. If you could grow any plant or vegetable anywhere in the world, no limits, what would it be and why? Masha, let's hear from you first.
That's a great question. I'd go with sweet potatoes. They're nutritious, easy to grow, and symbolizes resilience.
I love that. Camille, what about you?
I think spinach or kale. They're perfect for urban spaces and packed with nutrients.
Solid choice. Cindy?
I have a lot of choices actually, but I'd rather grow moringa. It's drought tolerant, full of vitamins, and valuable for needy communities.
Awesome answers. Now, let's go to the heart of today's discussion.
Let's start by breaking down SDG 2. One of the main goals in to ensure access to nutritious food for all, especially for vulnerable population like children, pregnant women, and to elderly. It also focuses on increasing agricultural productivity, earning sustainable food production, and maintaining biodiversity to secure long-term food security.
And despite these goals, hunger is still a global crisis. According to the Food and Agriculture Organization, over 735 million people worldwide face chronic hunger in 2023. The COVID 19 pandemic, climate change, and other conflicts have worsened food insecurity, pushing more communities into poverty and malnutrition. The global food system is incredibly fragile, and any disruption, whether it's a war, a natural disaster, or an economic crisis, has devastating consequences for millions of people.
Additionally, in line with what Joseph said, it's also frustrating because we actually produce enough food to feed the world, yet people are still going hungry. A big part of the problem is inequality. Many communities simply don't have access to affordable, nutritious food, and small scale farmers often don't get the support they need.
That's a really good point. Here in the Philippines, a major factor is poverty. About 50.9 million Filipinos struggle with food insecurity, and many of them are farmers themselves. They grow food out for the country, but often can't even afford to eat properly.
To add, let's not forget the role of climate change. Typhoons, droughts, and flooding destroys crops and disrupt food supply chains. If we don't address the environmental factors, food insecurity will only get worse.
Exactly. And in Mindanao, the problem is even more severe. The Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao has the highest rate of household food insecurity in the country, with over 84% of families struggling to access adequate food. Initiatives like urban gardening and agricultural training programs are great, but they're not enough if you don't address the bigger issues like land access, economic inequality, and government support for local farmers.
Alright, let's talk about the challenge at hand. Despite all the training in vegetable production and urban gardening, food insecurity in Mindanao remain a persistent problem. Mesha, can you give me some insight to why this is a case? What's going on despite all the efforts being made?
That's a great question, CJ. The problem with food insecurity in Mindanao is multifaceted. On the surface, we have training and resources available for urban gardening, but the reality is that it takes more than just knowing how to grow food. Many communities are still grappling with poverty, lack of access to markets, and limited resources to maintain what they grow. Additionally, logistical challenges like transportation and storage issues prevent people from selling their crops at fair prices. It's a much bigger structural problem.
Yeah, it sounds like a solution we think are simple, like when gardening are more complex regarding implementation. Camille, have you ever seen the first hand in your work?
Yes, while people may learn how to grow food in small spaces, they're not always equipped with the skills to manage those gardens effectively in the long run. Many participants in urban gardening programs are eager and enthusiastic, but when sustaining those efforts, they need consistent support, financially and educationally. Without that ongoing help, it becomes hard for people to see lasting changes.
It's like starting a fire but not having the right tools to keep it going. Cindy, how does the broader agricultural ecosystem in Mindanao contribute to this overall issue?
For context, it is actually a systematic issue. Beyond urban gardening, Mindanao is heavily reliant on traditional farming methods, and many farmers are still working with outdated practices, and second, facing extreme weather conditions that impact their yields. Actually, without modern technology or infrastructure, achieving food security on a large scale is very challenging. Additionally, the effects of climate change are making it harder to grow certain crops consistently. That's all.
The challenges are multidimensional. So, what can we do to address this?
Now, let's move on into what we can do to help. Camille, we've discussed the urban gardening, but what more can communities do to improve food security in the long run?
We need a more holistic approach. It's about planting crops and creating sustainable systems that include water management, access to proper tools, and connecting people to local markets. It's essential to empower people to grow their food and build local economies that supports them in the long run.
I agree, Camille. In addition to that, we need advocacy programs that reach out to local government units. We need policies that support food security initiatives, things like seed banks, low interest loans for small scale farmers, and access to technical training. A collective effort from the grassroots and the top down can make a real difference.
So that's where social enterprises and NGOs comes in, or non-government organizations. We can create a continuous improvement cycle by integrating community-driven solutions with organizational support. We must get creative and consider how urban and rural communities can work together. Plus, the youth needs to be involved. They're the future and the ones who can drive these changes.
Hmm, It sounds like collaboration is key. But we also need to make sure that people know why this matters. CJ, how can we engage more people, especially the youth, in this conversation?
It starts with raising awareness, Joseph. We must show the youth how food security affects them, even if they're not directly involved with agriculture. Urban farming could be marketed as cool, trendy, and part of a larger sustainability movement. If we can make food production something people can get excited about, it'll start creating real momentum. So, how do we move forward? At the government level, we need better policies that support sustainable farming, fair wages farmers, and land reform.
At the community level, we can promote urban gardening, support local farmers, and push for better food distribution systems. And as individuals, we can reduce food waste, advocate for food security policies, and educate others on the issue.
One great example of advocacy work is our project, which is Patiguto. It's a campaign that uses zombie theme to represent the desperation caused by food insecurity. By making this issue more visible, we hope to spark conversations and push for real change.
Our advocacy project, Patay Gutom, addresses food insecurity with a unique approach. Besha, can you tell us about it more?
Absolutely. Patay guto means dead hungry, which reflects the harsh reality many Mindanaoans face. We use a zombie theme to capture attention and emphasize that hunger turns people into mere survivors rather than thriving individuals.
We advocate for integrating urban gardening into public spaces, supporting farm to market initiatives, and providing more resources for small farmers. But beyond that, we challenge the stigma around hunger. People don't go hungry because they're lazy. It's a systematic issue.
Exactly. It's about long term solutions. We need local government support, better policies, and youth involvement in agriculture. Our campaign also encourages digital engagement, community decisions, and collaboration with policymakers.
So, Patay Gutom is more than an awareness campaign. It's a movement. CJ, how can we get more people involved, especially the youth?
We need to make food security something people care about, whether it's through social media, community garden project, or school programs. We can engage youth in meaningful ways. We must show them that they have a role in addressing hunger.
Yes, and beyond raising awareness, we're also advocating for long term solutions like integrating food security programs to government policies and supporting farm to table initiatives.
Ultimately, hunger isn't just a lack of food. It's a symptom of deeper social and economic inequalities. If we want to achieve SDG 2, we need to address these root causes first.
This has been an eye opening discussion. But before we wrap up, I'd like each and every one of you to share your key insights or maybe even takeaways. Mesha?
Food security is a collective effort. It takes long term investments, education, and policy change.
Urban gardening is a part of the solution, but it's just one piece. We need holistic, community driven approaches.
For me, it's about empowerment. When people have knowledge and resources, they can transform their communities.
Food security isn't just about agriculture, it's about justice, dignity, and ensuring everyone has a seat at the table.
Those are powerful messages indeed. To our listeners, let's work together to make a difference. get involved in local food security initiatives, support farmers, and start conversations about sustainable solutions, like what we're doing right now in our podcast. Remember that every action counts.
So, to our listeners, we challenge you to take action, support local farmers, educate yourself and others about SDG2, and advocate for policies that promote food security.
Food is a basic human right. No one should have to go hungry. And it's up to all of us to make sure that we're working toward a world where everyone has enough to eat.
Even small actions, like reducing food waste or choosing sustainable food options, can contribute to a bigger solution.
So together, we can create real change. Let's all do our part to achieve SDG 2 and ensure a hunger-free future.
Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and let's make a difference. Bye, guys.